Hey guys, it's John from Humor and History. I had to get into this a little bit, like 3 minutes into it before they started. So, this is number one: 8 American things British people find weird. I'm sure you can find more than that, but here we go.
Is actually something I probably agree with on the British side. This is one thing I found very weird in every single place I went to in America. Really odd, okay? I don't
Okay.
know what you guys in America will think of this. I want to know your thoughts, okay? But listen, when you go to public toilets in America, basically there is zero privacy.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Because in between the door stalls, where the lock is, for example, the gap is about that big. You can look and wave at everybody as they're walking past the bathroom stalls as you're in there, doing your thing, right? And I must admit that was one of the oddest things when going to the public bathrooms. Because if you come to the bathrooms here in the UK and Scotland, the public bathrooms, you get a lot more privacy. Sometimes the doors are even sealed off in total, so you're in your own private cubicle room. But in America, it was like
That's a
that
good
much
point.
ground clearance, loads at the top as well, and you're just in a big open forum, when you want to be in a private place. What do you guys think about that? Is that something you even noticed as Americans or care about? When you came here, did you notice our bathrooms are slightly more private? Drop your comments down below, please. Number
So, yeah, this is something that I think Americans never really think about until they actually leave the country. I did notice it in Spain, and to be honest with you, I just thought it was nicer, better. When you kind of grow up with it like that, I don't know. I think it has to do with some. This is just speculation, but I think it has to do with some sort of law that you have to be able to crawl out. I don't know why, but now that it's brought up, yeah, that's freaking weird. We have gaps in our stalls like that big, and it's like one side or the other. So like if you have a moment where like I try not to use public restrooms. I guess I don't know. I live in the country, so I don't always go to the city as much. But if you have some bad food or something like that, and you do have to do it, yeah, it is kind of weird. I think it's because they don't want you to loiter, maybe also or stay. That might be another thing because for a while there could be so many reasons. In the cities they do. Some people go in and that's where they do drugs or whatever. But then there's that safety aspect of being able to get out. I don't know. There probably is a real reason, and I have no clue what it is.
two, and this is something that I absolutely
Weird though.
100% agree with you guys in America, okay?
All
Ice
right.
in your drinks, and generally speaking, cold drinks. Right now in Scotland, we are having some unusually warm weather. It was 21 degrees Celsius today in Edinburgh. You might be thinking, that's a bit chilly. But for us, it was a heat wave. There were people walking around town with basically no clothes on today. It has been like this for the last few days, and it's forecast to be like this for days to come. Very warm, right? But yet, no matter where you go here, whether it's a cafe, whether it is a restaurant, whether it is a pub, it is difficult, very difficult to get an ice cold drink. When you're just hot and it's summer and you just want a really, really cold drink, there is nothing more refreshing. Well, here in the UK, we just don't do it. It's quite rare. And in fact, if you ask for ice in your glass, you will most certainly get a weird look. I don't know why it's like that here. Since I've travelled, I've found it really quite annoying actually because I like my drinks really cold. Whereas in America, you guys put lots of ice and have all your drinks cold, right? As well as the ice on the top, they will also be refrigerated. And then we come to beer, right? If you go to a pub in America, the beer will come out of a really cold fridge and will
Yes.
actually be frosty. Here
Yeah.
in the UK, our beer flows from taps, which has been connected to the barrel, which is not even refrigerated. It might be kept down under the ground in the cellar or whatever, but it's basically room temperature. That's no good, is it? We like a cold drink, especially when it's nice and warm in summer. And a lot of Americans do find that weird when you guys come here. And I think when I've been to America, I have found that a revelation for me. It's been so great to have really nice cold drinks. It's something that I just don't understand it. Why do we do that here? I don't know. But I'm on your side. I am Team America. I kind of feel like this theme is kind of going both ways. So some of the things I agree
Okay.
with you guys, and some
He's
of the
very
things I
fair
think are
about
actually
this.
a bit weird.
Okay.
And maybe take the more British stance, right? The next one, I definitely take the British stance on this. This is something.
Okay. Our geography lends itself to a varying degree of temperatures, especially in the south. It gets very hot, and the other thing is that, and if I remember correctly, and some of you guys can correct me on this, but I'm trying to think back to hearing about the ice issue. Um, during the time of automobiles, they would take chunks of ice, big chunks of ice, drive them down south, and cut them up and use them. They use fans that blow across them for air conditioning and things like that. When soft drinks came out, now ours have bubbles. When they came out, they were better cold. That's just the way it kind of was. They just tasted better that way. A warm, fuzzy, sugary drink wasn't all that great. So that is my understanding. It does sort of refresh on hot days, but I mean, you can live in Maine, you can live in Alaska even, and the summers are still very hot there. Yeah, or you can live in Florida, and it can be hot all the time. So it's just something that sort of took hold as a nation because of one particular area. That happens a lot in the States. You'll notice a lot of things like that.
Something that shocked me no end, okay? When you're in a shop and you're going to buy something in America,
Yeah.
price, okay? You think,
Oh,
"Great,
yeah.
that's not bad, a good deal, actually pretty cheap." And then you take it to the counter, and then they slap another big
6%.
wad of tax on top of it that you did not expect. I've got a specific example of this. I was in New York, right? And I went to buy a drone because in the UK they're a little bit more expensive, and I thought, okay, in America a little bit cheaper. I'll buy my drone in New York. The tax bill on top of it was from the New York State, I believe. But
Yes.
wow, it was a big chunk, and I was not expecting it. I was thinking, that's not so cheap anymore. I could have just bought it in the UK, probably the same price. So that is something I do find weird, and British people generally complain about when they go to America.
There's a
The
reason.
fact that you guys display your prices without the tax, and then you get a big tax bill whacked on top of it. What is that? That's usually state
Yeah.
tax, right? Your
It
state
is.
taxes are different from your federal tax. We don't really have that issue in the UK. It's all very much the same. That's why it's easy for them to calculate it, but I don't know why the shops don't put their taxes in on America. And I think it's sometimes a little bit annoying because it makes you think
Yeah, it
it's
is.
cheaper, but you forget about the tax, right? 4.
Okay, so the whole reason is, one, yes, it is a state tax. So if you have a drone, as his example was, and you would go to sell it in, let's say, all 50 states, Delaware does not charge any taxes. So their price is their price. Some don't tax food. Some don't tax food and clothing. And then some tax everything. And then some have 2 different taxes. It actually is it's state specific because sometimes the states make more money off of their state citizens. For example, their real estate tax, or the land that you own, or the apartment you rent, whatever, they have more taxes there, and it makes up for that difference. But yeah, you can't really have one particular price on an item, and it would probably be a lot. I mean, a lot of times they'll say plus tax, and so like Americans know how much their state tax is. In Pennsylvania, it's 6%. So, something's like $99, $100. It's going to be 106 and something. It's just the way it is, or 106. So, I don't know. It's kind of, it may seem weird to you guys. It seems normal, I guess, for us because, like, I live on the edge of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. It's the way it goes. States are have their own autonomy, so they do what they do.
Plugs, very basic subject. You know the plugs that you put in sockets.
Love this. We
Power
talked
things,
about
like
this
I'm
in another
powering
video.
this big light that's lighting up my face right now. In the UK, they're very how can I say this?
Safe?
Safe.
Yeah.
Put your plug in and it still does nothing. You have to actually turn a switch on to make it work.
Okay.
And when I was in America, something I found a little bit odd was the fact that you just put your plug in and boom, whatever it is comes on.
Yep.
And this might sound like a small deal, but it's actually something that we as British people are kind of scared about, right? When you go to America and it's like, you just put the plug in and whatever it is you're using magically comes to life without
Yep.
you pressing a switch to say, okay, it's safe to turn it on. Because I don't know, I think it's in our education here, we're always taught electricity is super dangerous. Do
It is.
things slowly, plug it in, and once you're ready, turn it on. Is that even an issue? Should that be an issue? I don't even know. The next thing, I'm on
Okay.
your side again. 100%.
So yeah, they are slightly dangerous. I've never gotten electrocuted by one. I don't know. Within my line of work, I do change out electrical outlets. So a lot of us, I don't know. I guess a lot of people who do it, they just know. I don't know. I have no idea why it is, but it makes more sense to have an off on. Probably makes switches more expensive. It's likely because it's cheaper in the United States to do it without a switch. They used to have the switches on the walls that you could turn on and off a light switch. My house has one. It was built in the early '80s, and we do have a couple of rooms that have those on-off switches. I have to take one out of one of the rooms because it's weird. But the weird thing about those is like people will walk in, plug something in, and go, "Oh my gosh, this thing doesn't work," and they'll take it back and realize, "Oh no, the switch was off," because our switches are all the way on next to the doorway, not on the actual outlet itself. But my theory on this is that we build so many houses and so quickly and cheaply and made out of wood. They end up without maintenance. They end up crumbling because the whole circle. You got to have people to fix it up so everyone can make money. I think it's just so that they can buy tons of these, outlets, which are like they're I don't know $2-3 for an outlet at the most, and they're cheaper if you buy them in quantity. You just install them and that's that. So there are no switches, but switches would be safer and better. But in Great Britain, you guys have long-lasting houses, so it makes much more sense there. Americans try to skimp on stuff. That's a word I don't know if you know.
Right? In America, you guys have so many 24-hour stores and shops. And this is something I found in every single city I went to in America. There's always something open.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this, right? I don't know what it is, but I feel a comfort knowing that no matter what time of day or night it is, if I need something, there's going to be something open where I can get it. I was in New York, like I said, last summer, and I remember right on the same block where I was staying, there was a 24-hour supermarket. There was a 24-hour pizza place. $1 pizza, I might add. There was a 24-hour McDonald's. And I think there was even a 24-hour bakery type of situation as well. Basically, whatever we needed, any time of day and night, we had it there 24 hours.
Yeah.
Here in the UK, and a lot of Americans find this odd, we tend to shut up shop pretty early in the evenings. So kind of 8 to 10 p.m, a lot of things are already shut. And the pubs, as you know, don't last all night as well. They tend to shut between midnight and 1 in the morning because of licensing and all that kind of stuff. We're quite early here. Now, that's not to say it's always like that here. In London, you can find more things. And actually, some of the bigger supermarkets have tried this American style of being open 24 hours. Walmart has a subsidiary here in the UK. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a Walmart here, and it's called Asda. That's a British Walmart owned by the same company, and their superstores, select stores are open 24 hours, and there's actually one not far away from here. And guys, listen, it's quite handy and useful. I like it. Like I said, I feel comfortable with the fact there's always something open 24 hours. I remember waking up at 2 in the morning once and I had a horrible migraine, didn't have any paracetamol. It's so handy to know that you can just get a shop whenever you need it. We just don't have that here. Pharmacies, for goodness sake, you have 24-hour pharmacies. We need this culture here in the UK. British people find it weird, but I think we also kind of like it. I certainly do. So
I have no problem with 24-hour Walmart, personally, and I'll give you my opinion on it. Honestly, I don't have a problem with the 24-hour Walmart. This whole 24-hour thing started like in the late 80s, 80s or 90s. And it was all about making more sales. And if you were open 24 hours, someone could rely on you. And you never necessarily did close. A lot of these things, too, were also dictated by the malls. I used to run a store, a bunch of stores, but I used to run stores in malls because shopping malls are very big in the United States. And they would stay up until 9 o'clock at night during the Christmas season. They would stay open until 11 or even midnight sometimes. So 24 hours had to do with convenience. Americans in the 80s and 90s and 70s, we did push customer service and going above and beyond. And that truly was going above and beyond the way we saw it. But at the same time, it messes with people's lives. And now that like you get McDonald's and Wendy's and all these other places, these fast food places, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You get drunk people out at night going to get food, and that's highly unsafe. You get people taking, like I said, mostly drunk. They're out wandering around. I mean, when I was in college, I remember somebody drove us to one of those all-night places that you could get, a sandwich, and it wasn't a great scene. I don't think it's a great idea.
6 is you guys are into all the sports. I think this is really cool. Definitely
We are.
something I really enjoy about American culture. You tend to find people have a kind of broader interest in sports. Here in the UK and Scotland, it's not really like that. Okay? I'll explain about that in a second, but when you talk to an American person about sports, they're into football, they're into basketball, they're into tennis, they're into golf. They can tell you facts about all these sports. Volleyball,
Yeah.
ice hockey, for goodness sake. Literally all the sports you can think of. Usually people in America, you have a broader base of knowledge and you can tell us things about all of these sports. And I think that's fascinating and really cool. You get some major sports fans in America. And here in the UK, it's not really like that. You tend to find here people are into singular sports,
Like
right?
football,
And they don't
yeah.
really care or know much about the others. So, for example, a big football fan here in Scotland or in the UK in general tends to know a lot about football. They can tell you all the facts about football, but then get a wee bit lost if you take them into rugby or golf or whatever. They won't know about these things. People here are very narrow in their sport interests. And I just find that fascinating and really cool that in America, you guys definitely seem to have a wider sports-based knowledge and interest. I actually got this t-shirt from somebody who watches the vlog, Brenda from Tennessee. Thank you very much for sending this. And I've been receiving loads of sports-related items and merch from you guys, so thank you so much for sending them. It's really interesting to see all your colours and all your teams from different states. I've got so many sports teams now, between American football, between hockey, to go and check out when I go to the States next. It's going to be a riot just on the sports alone. So thanks, guys, for sending
Okay.
that. Number
So here's the thing about sports. We have seasonal sports. So there's ice hockey that happens during the winter season. Generally speaking, we share that with Canada. We have people that are interested in baseball. It's very much like what's it called, Rounders, but that really took off into a national sport, and as well as American football, which we don't really use our feet much. And then there are all sorts of things. But here's the thing: is each region, just like you guys, we have our own teams, and we have our own. Some people are bigger into football, and then into baseball. Then there's like college baseball, and then there's American football professional, and there's college football professional. College football. That's what I mean to say. And you see people walking around wearing the shirts just like he's wearing. And right now I'm outside of Philadelphia is where I live. So our local team is the Eagles, and they're doing quite well right now. I think they're in the number one place. So we watch it whenever we can on a Sunday or maybe a Thursday, and we'll wear our Eagle shirts. When it comes to the springtime, after they have their final playoffs, that same field that they play American football on then changes. And actually, I think it's actually different this year. I think they built a new one for the Philadelphia Phillies, right? And that changes. And that goes through. We wear a Philadelphia Phillies shirt, and then there's the Philadelphia 76ers. They're a basketball team. So we have all these different things because in high school you're allowed to try every one of the sports to see what you like. It's not like we're a very football in terms of soccer or football. So we're not 100% all that, or that dominates over cricket, or whatever it might be. But people, you talk to them and they'll be like, yeah, I like football more, or I like baseball more. And it all depends. We have our own kind of world here in the US. So
7, and here's something that I wish was better here. Something about America that is kind of like a curiosity, okay?
Okay.
Lemonade. Humboldt Lemonade. And this is something that I find interesting because going way back to when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of American programs. And I always remember it seemed to be in the summertime especially,
Yes.
kids used to make lemonade and sell it on the streets to their neighbours. And when I saw the lemonade, it would always look so good, right? Homemade lemonade, real lemons, and whatever other ingredients they use.
Yes.
Special ingredients, and it just looked lovely. And in the UK, we don't have that type of lemonade. We have lemonade, but our lemonade tends to be, how can I say this? Like a soft drink, sparkly, full of
Yeah.
sugar, and the faintest hint of a taste of lemon, the faintest hint. But like that's what we call lemonade, and it's really not lemonade. And guys, having been to America last year, a couple of places, I tried the lemonade, and I am addicted to lemonade now. I make homemade lemonade all the time, thanks to you guys. You guys have it going on with lemonade, and I appreciate that.
Lemonade is a big deal, especially in the South. It's a great thirst quencher. You don't want to overdo it because then it gets really, tart, I guess is a term. I don't know. Like that's by the way, I mean that in terms of like taste wise. It's very it can be too sweet and sour almost. But what you want to do is you mix it with water, and that's where the ice comes in. So it's a great thing. You'll find it, especially in the South in the old days. People used to make lemonade and bring it out to people who were, like working, or you'd have it during lunch. And yeah, that would be a thing. Now it's kind of all around. You can get soft drinks that are like lemon flavored. It doesn't really work with bubbles in it because we like things sort of, fizzy, in the States. But
Hey, we're on to the last one, okay?
'Kay.
American polite greeting of "How are you?" Right? This
Yeah.
is something I think is quite important to discuss because when we hear that as a British person, we're like, "What? This person wants to know really deep, intimate details about my life." When somebody asks the simple question of "How are you?" British people are different that way, right? When you get to that level of "How are you doing?" it's like a really personal question, and you really feel like you have to give a solid answer, right? If somebody says that to you here, you will spend the next 4 or 5 minutes going through literally all the things of your life that are of significance. Whereas in America, it's like, "How are you?" The next person responds, "I'm good. How are you?" "Great." And then you go on your way. I don't know what it is, but here in the UK, we're just not wired up that way. And by the way, you might be in for a surprise. If we're not doing that well, we'll also tell you reasons why, all the intimate details of why we're not doing that well. So I find that an interesting cultural take.
Okay, so yeah, in the States we do that. It's part of the greeting. Hey, how are you? And they'll say something like, even if they're having a bad day, they'll say, I'm doing all right. It's a little bit of a rough day, but so be it. How are you? And that would be a response. A lot of people do it just to be friendly. It's it's a step more than hello. It's like, hello, how are you? It's like more of a, because I say hi to people as I'm going on a walk or something like that with my wife. And sometimes the people that I know that are closer neighbors that live closer to me, I go, hey, how are you? Or like the guy next to me, he's a little more advanced in age. I will say, how are you? And he'll actually tell me how he is doing. And I'm actually genuinely, concerned if something's wrong or if he's doing well or how his family is doing. Has his son come over? So I think that stuff is important. And it's up to you as the individual, if you want to say American, to find out how you want to phrase your question to get the response you want to get. You can say, hey, how are you? And you say it like that. And they'll be like, yeah, I'm good. How are you? And otherwise you can say, hey, how are you, Dave? And he'll say, yeah, I'm good. And they're like, really? And then you go on like that. And they'll be like, yeah, there's this, there's that. And if they don't want to talk about it, they won't. But Americans are generally fun people. I like this. This guy actually knows what he's talking about. And these are pretty decent things. So let me know what you think in the comments. This is one of my favorite, actually, videos it turned out to do. I was unsure in the beginning.